we have made a discovery. Since I removed and replaced that diff tube, she's not kicking into 4x4. So what we did was a lot of research on the actuator, and I just opened it up, pulled the actuator out of there, and the fork that actually slides the gear in and out of four-wheel drive with the tiny little motor, it's not sitting in the right spot. The fork should be able to grab that little slide and hopefully move it into 4x. So really didn't want to do this again, but I figure if I'm gonna tear it all apart, you might as well watch and see how it goes. Right on. All right, so what we've done is just kind of loosen everything up. We disconnected the ABS because we're gonna have to swing. This little guy goes right here. I'll pull that out, get it out of the way just for safety reasons. Disconnect this brake cable mount right here. See how I kind of just pull it out of the way, put the screw back in so I don't lose it, because this is a process and a half. And now we're gonna take caliper off. So bear with me. It's a long, steady process. You don't want to lose all your crap, your parts. Alright, so there we go. That's my axle. We've got movement, we've got play, that's a good sign. Now I'm going to disconnect this guy here. And we'll be able to get some clearance. Pull this hub off of the axle itself and then pull the axle out cleanly. All right, axle's out. That pin is still, or that lock ring, still good. Didn't damage the teeth at all. The only thing we did damage is this little kind of washer guard. I'll just bend that back as best as I can and not worry about it. So, another step down. And this is where it gets really fun. What I'm looking at is that floating axle. So, here's a look at that floating axle. Sits in there. Your CV axle connects to it. And I think I sank it too far into this housing. So we're gonna have to take those support mounts off, and those 4 bolts, which take forever to get out. I gotta be super careful. And there's the actuator, by the way. So there's the fork that slides that little ring over with this tiny little motor. So if you look inside there, in there I've got the slide. I just pushed it out of the way. Let me grab it for you. So see, she spins. All right, there you are. Okay, see that little guide right here? Got my deal in it. This is supposed to be, everything is supposed to be to the left, about an inch, because the way these forks go on, to grab that little guide right there, is when it's disengaged, those forks should be on this guide, but this guide should be all the way over here on the left. So the whole assembly needs to come over. Either that or I'm really tripping out and missed something. But where it's at right now, the fork will not sit on there. I'll be doing some damage if I squeeze it in there. So we're gonna pull the whole thing out again. Not how I wanted to spend my Sunday, but whatever. This is the do-it-yourself, right? Don't pay a shop to rip you off, even if they know what they're doing. If you know people with a shop, though, they'll give you some good advice, and they probably won't rip you off. But I don't have a shop that's willing to dive this deep, so we dive in ourselves. Stay tuned. All right, so before I went into taking that whole floating axle and tube out, I checked it one more time to see if I can get that actuator fork to sit on that little slide or guide. Just had to check one more time, and it did. I got the fork on the glide or the guide, and I don't really know. So I'm gonna throw some silicone back on there, close it all up, put some more gear oil back in there. I saved what was in there because I had just changed it, so it's all nice and clean. Reassemble everything, and while it's still on the lift, try and kick it into four-wheel and see how it does. Okay, headlamp Harry's back, and just want to give you a look at the actuator. Okay, there she is. We got her back on there. Silicone everywhere, just in case. We'll kind of clean it up later once it's dried. It's got to be around that whole daggone sucker. So the forks, or the fork inside that actuator, is now resting on that little guide. So I'm gonna smack these 4 bolts, tighten them up, put my CV axle back in, make it look like a truck again with wheels and all that fun stuff. So yeah, stay tuned. almost there. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna lift her back up, put the diff fluid back in it. Well, actually I have to wait another half hour for that silicone to dry. So we're gonna lower it, and maybe I'll torque those lug nuts to spec, which is like 96 foot-pounds, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, we got her fired back up. She's all buttoned up on each side, filled up, plenty of diff fluid, and I already tested it, but I didn't want to test it while you guys were watching for the first time, but it is working out right now. So here we go. We're in 4 high park, foot's on the brake. We're gonna pull it into drive. I'm gonna show you. Here we go. There we go, baby. That is what I'm talking about. So, what is the lesson we learned? The lesson we learned, well, here, let's take it back out. Back into 2. You hear it click. There we go. Let's put it in drive. That actuator to take it out. If I can get it to get out, maybe it won't get out now. I've seen people have that issue. There it goes. All right, now rears are spinning, fronts not spinning. Rear, front. No warning signs other than the fact that I need to feed this girl some gas. We're in park. We're gonna shut it off. We are happy campers now. All right, once again, the lesson we learned when really taking anything apart on these trucks, any truck, don't rush. Make sure, especially dealing with gears, axles, stuff like that, you want everything to go back the way you found it. So before you take it apart, or while you're taking it apart, pay attention. Do it slow. Look at all moving pieces. And I learned my lesson. Thought I fixed it, went wheeling, and couldn't even get up the tiniest little dry hill. Pretty much embarrassing. Not stoked on that. And then I'm sitting there halfway up the hill going, what's going on, man? No 4x. Didn't hear any crunching or anything, but that little fork for the actuator was not able to slide the gear over. Pretty important piece that I missed. I think I was just so ecstatic about getting that new tube back in there and getting a new axle in it that I skipped one tiny little step, and that's all it takes. I was without the 4x for 2 weeks, maybe 3, about 3. But the truck drove, so I was driving it to and from work. I was 2-wheeling on the hill, letting the rear end slide pretty much everywhere. But yeah, we got her all buttoned up, and I'll shoot you an update if things are running smooth when I get on the dirt, or if not. So we'll see. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.